Hi, I'm Randy Robison. Welcome to Life Today, digital edition. Today, I'm going to give you some hope for your marriage, even if you don't have one yet. Clayton and Ashlee Hurst are here, and I noticed that the book, the foreword here, is by a gentleman by the name of Joel Osteen, and I'll just tell you now that's fitting because they are the marriage pastors at Lakewood Church.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thanks so much
you.
for having us.
Thanks for having
So
us.
let's jump right into this marriage thing,
Okay.
because it's a kind of a big deal,
It is.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do we need to know? What's the secret?
The secret is I wish somebody would have told us how to be married before we got married.
Yeah.
You know, I think the thing for us was that, you know, we kind of went into marriage thinking that we knew it all. We had great examples, we had great models. It's like going, oh, this is going to be easy. No problem, you know, won't have any issues. If mom and dad can do it, I can do it. You know, if my grandparents can do it, we can do it. And we just learned real early that, you know, we didn't really know how to communicate effectively. I think for me, I spent a lot of time wooing her, you know, trying to get her attention and do the extra things. And then it's like once she said I do, I kind of relaxed.
Yep, conquered.
And that was done.
What's next?
You know,
It's done.
A classic guy
I
mistake.
realized, very classic guy mistake. And I think she eventually helped me realize that that's got to continue. The wooing's got to continue. And
That's big.
Yeah.
I mean, that young guys hear that part right
Yeah.
there, because that really is true.
I tell guys that if you wrote poetry to gain your, you know, wife's attention, guess what? You're going to write poetry for the rest of your life. You know, but it's the simple things like opening the door for her. You know, you may think, oh, I'll never stop. Well, have a couple of kids, you know, and then things kind of change, you know, and so it's treating her with the honor and the respect and the security that she needs. You know, that's the one thing that we found is the number one need of most women is security, and a lot of that comes in just knowing that you're there, knowing that you can there and just listen.
We can't just assume it,
No,
but we do, don't we?
oh, we do.
I mean, I've been guilty of that.
Yeah. Oh, I think I'm still guilty of that a lot of times. But I think early on I thought we were on separate teams. I didn't realize that we were on the same team. You know, and I think that's what really hurt. From my perspective, I think if I could have learned that earlier, I think that would have helped us a lot more.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, we should have prepared more. You know, we both come from really great families. His parents have been married now for 55 years, mine for over 45. And at the time, we thought, oh, well, this is easy. We grew up in great families. You know, what's there to know? We just know, you know, take care of each other and we'll be fine. And so we tell couples all the time, you know, especially newly engaged, get into premarital counseling. At Lakewood, we offer classes, we'll do one-on-one, we do test assessments. It's so important to get that knowledge. There's a scripture in Proverbs that says a house is built on wisdom and through understanding it's established, and its rooms are filled with knowledge, which are filled with jewels by knowledge. And that wisdom is so important to build your house. I mean, anything you're successful at, you've worked really hard at it. So why in the world wouldn't you work really hard at your marriage? You have to be intentional every day. It's not just a one-time thing. It's not just a one-time class. Every day, there's always something to learn about marriage. So.
Do we tend to look at marriage as sort of the end instead of the beginning?
I think I did, and I think probably a lot of guys do. You know, it's like you get the ring on, and she says yes, and I do, and okay, we're done. All right, what's next? What's, like you said, what's left to conquer?
Yeah.
You know, but I think it's that constant finding out about about each other. You know, she's a different woman now than she was 22 years ago, and I'm a different man.
And that's a good thing.
It's a great thing,
right? It should
but I
be.
think it's keeping that at the forefront and constantly learning more about each other. You know, how God will continue to reveal Himself to you. Well, that causes you to change. Well, if I'm different, then you need to get to know the new me. You know, and vice versa. And so it's literally going to class every single day. You never really ace the test, and you know, until you take your last breath. You know, and you know, that's one of the things that we strive for. It's like, hey, we're in this till one of us takes our last breath. And so it's going to be a continuation. And we mentioned it earlier that my parents have been married for 55 years. And one of the things that they told us is like going, you know, the moment we stop learning is the moment we stop growing in our marriage. And I'm like going, but Mom, Dad, you've been married 55 years. You should be coasting. You know, you should have all this figured out. And they're like, we're still learning. We're still making mistakes. We're still, you know, getting over things. And so I think it's huge to continue that process.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What do you think a woman, a young girl going into marriage, what do you think her number one misconception is?
Probably that they'll be this happily ever after, and everything's going to be beautiful, and you're going to ride out on the, the white horse. That's what I thought. I thought, oh man, it's going to be so much fun to live in a house with him, and I'll get to play house and decorate, and he'll come home from work and he'll want to sit down and tell me all about his day.
Oh, you got that
and,
wrong.
rub my feet and just, it was, I assumed the dating would just continue. You know what I mean? Like it would still be as romantic as it was, and it wasn't. And so I would say for a woman, find out, first of all, find out what their love language is. The 5 love languages by Dr. Gary Chapman is revolutionary. Find out what your husband's love language is. Find out what your love language is, and be intentional about that every day. Understand what the differences between men and women and how to communicate. That was a big one for us too. I communicated completely different than he did, and vice versa. And when we kind of figured that out and realized that we're kind of speaking 2 different languages, okay, how do we learn each other's language? That was so great. And like Clayton said, security is so important for a woman. She needs to know that everything's going to be okay.
How do we do that? How do we? I want to hear from a woman.
Yeah,
and from your perspective.
Okay, so security, so quality time is my love language. So when he sits down and he talks to me, puts his phone down, and he looks at me and he just says, when I ask questions, how are finances? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? And he's like, what? It's going to be okay. We're going to get through this, or this is where we're at right now. Here's where we'll be in a couple of months. Any of that. Another thing is with men, they try to fix all of a woman's problems too. Sometimes a woman just wants him to listen, and everything's going to be okay. And that was a big thing for us too. And it kind of rocked my security when I would say, I've had a really bad day at work. Okay, well just go in and quit your job and do this, this, and this. And I'm like, wait a second, I don't want you to fix this.
If I could say anything to the guys that are watching, please don't try to fix their problems. I wish somebody would have told me. In fact, we had a conversation with my parents not too long ago, and we were explaining something about right after Ashlee had, she was teaching, and this is kind of right when it came to a head, and she was like, I had the worst day, and these kids, and this, that, and the other, and I said, listen, here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna go in tomorrow, you're gonna quit your job, we'll make it work, I'll get another job, da-da-da. And she literally yelled at me and said, would you quit trying to fix my problems? I just want you to listen. And I said, well, quit telling me your problems, and it was just this tension. I'm trying to show her love in the way that I feel like she needs it, but that's not what she needed.
Right.
But I'll never forget, I sat down with my parents, and my mom looks at my dad and kind of starts laughing, and she goes, oh my gosh, that sounds just like something, and she rattles off this time that they had this exact same thing. And I look at my dad, I'm like going, almost like, kind of half jokingly, but I'm like, why didn't you tell me? I wish somebody would have told me that, but I had no idea how much that played into her security. That if I would just sit down, I think I thought that she was asking me the questions to get an answer.
Right.
That is not
Which
what
kind of makes sense.
I know.
For a guy, that's kind of what we do. That's why a lot of times guys don't talk very much. It's kind of like, if I ask you a question, I expect an answer. But when she asks me a question, a lot of times it's just like, hey, it's going to be okay. Hey, don't worry about it.
Half the time it's just the listening part.
Yeah.
But I think the key for us early on was I finally asked her, I said, listen, until I kind of get the hang of this, would you tell me if you want me to fix it or if you want me to listen? And that was huge for us. And I said, listen, it probably won't take long. Give me a couple of months.
I still do it.
You still do it, right?
22 years later, she's still doing
And
it.
it's okay.
And it's okay. That's the thing.
It's okay.
As long as it's okay with you, and it needs to be okay with us.
Right. We heard someone tell a story of their perspective of this whole fix it, listen thing. And he said, it's like when you have a ball in your hand and your dog's standing right there and you act like you're about to throw the ball, but you never throw the ball.
Right.
He said, that's what it's like when you present a problem to me that I don't get to fix.
Oh, it was great.
Yeah, and I was like,
so now I go, okay, you've got a ball in your hand, and you keep showing it to me, and you either need to throw it or you need to put it away. But that was such a great.
Well, that was a good perspective
point
for me to hear of what he's going through when I do present something to him, and I get frustrated with him because he's trying to fix all my problems. So now, I'm like, yeah, of course, I will let you know. Yes, I want you to actually fix this one, or no, I just need you to listen and give me a hug and tell me it's going to be okay, and I'm fine.
That's good. That's good. Okay, now that we've completely terrified anybody that's thinking about getting married, you got to tell them what the payoff is for all this hard work.
I think the payoff is realizing that you're not alone. Realizing that you've got somebody to walk through life with. You know, that, you know, we've heard Jimmy Evans told us this one time. He said, you know, soulmates aren't born, they're created through the trenches of life. You know, we've gone through a lot of trenches. And when you merge two families, when you merge two normals, you know, and you set out on this road of marriage, you're going to realize that you really need somebody to do it with. You really need somebody that you can lock arms with, almost like a battle buddy. You know, you're going through life, it's you against everybody else. But realizing that she's always going to be there. She's my #1 fan. She's my biggest cheerleader. There is nobody that can pray for me. There's nobody that I want praying for me like her. You know, there's nobody that I want to go out and spend time with more than her. You know, because we literally have gone through, you know, hell and high water, but we've been there together through the whole thing. To me, the payoff is realizing that you don't have to do life by yourself. You get to do it with somebody that you love and care for and will die with, you know, and die for that matter.
And we work together, so we're together a lot.
We're there together a lot.
Yeah.
For me, I would say just we talk about it in the book, the power of partnership. You know, 5 years into our marriage, we weren't in a good place. We were in what we call the valley of dry bones. And I was going through, I'd just given birth to our first child, and I was going through severe postpartum depression. But I didn't feel like, I didn't even know what it was at the time. I thought I was just absolutely going crazy. I mean, I would have the craziest thoughts about harming my child. I mean, just, it was really scary. But I thought if I told anybody, they'd take her away, you know, he would leave me, and we weren't on good terms. And it was a very, very painful year for me before we finally reconciled and worked on our marriage. Fast forward 14 years later, when we have our surprise 2-year-old, I went through postpartum depression again, but we were on the same team. We were partners. We went through it together. At that time, I thankfully recognized what it was, and he did too. And he, you know, every day he'd say, "How are you doing today? What kind of thoughts are you having? Tell me everything you're thinking. Okay, let's pray. Let's pray about that. Know that those thoughts aren't real. You know, your hormones are still working their way out. You know, you're going to be okay. You're going to get through this. We're going to get through this together." And so when you're on the same team as your spouse, gosh, it's everything. You can get through anything together. You know, I like he said, he's my best friend. I tell him everything. I can't wait to tell him things, you know, when something happens or with our kids or something funny, you know. He's the first person I want to call and tell everything to. And that is amazing to have in your life. You know, I know, you know, we can face anything together that comes against us, you know, even, you know, difficulties, whatever. We can do it together.
Doesn't get much better than that. That is true, and that is hope for your marriage. I encourage you to get the book if you're struggling. Maybe you just want to polish things up and make it even better. And if you're gonna get married, think about getting married. Great advice. And when we say counseling, counseling, I think sometimes the word scares people because that's where you go when something's wrong. Right? But no, you're saying it's more like it's just preparation.
I think every marriage goes through a season where they probably need to talk to somebody and get some help. I don't think anybody's immune to it. You know, we see that a lot at our church. We've talked to even staff members that have needed help to walk through things. You know, we have ongoing marriage classes because, you know, we always need the help. We always need the maintenance. No, don't ever think that you're too far gone or, you know, or
you're too good.
Or you're too good.
Right.
Yeah, pride, man.
Marriage counseling is just gaining wisdom.
That's it.
You know, and that just makes things better. So
absolutely.
Don't be scared of that. Check out their website if you want more information. What is your website?
We can get all their information lakewoodchurch.com.
There you go, right there, Lakewood. If you want to hear a little bit more from Clayton and Ashlee, check them out on the broadcast program that's available at lifetoday.org. Thank you for watching and sharing this interview. Be sure to check out the social media for Life Today Television, and you can connect with me on Facebook and Twitter. And if you haven't already subscribed or followed this channel, do it now so you can see more of our great guests.